Chapter 5. The sixth prince quickly moved out from the dilapidated West Palace to the Zishan Palace. One lived in the main residence of the palace, the other lived in the east side of the outer side palace. They were separated by a long distance, but a few walls were erected, allowing it to become two independent residences. When the palace was locked, so there was no need to shy away, Li Jintian specifically sent someone to inquire if they wanted to refurbish their palace and also reward a lot of precious treasure. The slave who had stolen the sixth prince's meal was also caned to death, showing the emperor's care for the Qishujie father and son. Therefore, the servants who were sent to the Zichen palace all had respectful looks on their faces and no longer dared to treat Qishujie as a criminal. To be able to obtain a few acts of favor from Li Jintian while he was exclusively pampering another concubine, and even being pardoned for his mortal crimes, then compensated afterwards. This concubine Shi was absolutely not a simple person. Zhu Shang cultivated a relationship with the sixth prince, while also paying attention to the happenings in the Yangxin Palace and Tianchen Palace. Li Jintian's character really resembled what was written in the data. He was miserably in love with Gao Min. Even if his heart was driven into a deep rage, he still persistently visited him and their child every day, and he never spent a night with the other concubines. He couldn't give up on this relationship. Gao Min was very aware of this, so he acted very boldly. But this could not last forever. Even the deepest feelings couldn't withstand the wear and tear of time, especially when one partner was trying their best to maintain it, while the other was snubbing it like an old shoe. It was only a matter of time before love became hate. As for the search for his lost lover, Zhu Sheng was currently living in the inner palace, constantly under Li Jintian's and Gao Min's surveillance. Now was not a good time to act. But when my son ascends the throne, wouldn't finding that person be a piece of cake? Thinking like this, Zhu Sheng barely managed to press down his anxious mood. This day he was lying on the couch, reading, when his personal attendant hurriedly walked up to him and whispered, "Master, the sixth prince head maid urgently wants to see you. She said that the sixth prince is in bad shape." "What's wrong with him?" Zhu Sheng threw away the book, put on his shoes, and walked straight to the side chamber without looking at the palace maid. The maid quickly caught up, her eyes red, expression frightened as she stammered, "Concubine, the sixth prince, he's gone mad. Quickly, go and look." Mad? How can a healthy man suddenly go mad? Zhu Sheng recalled how Gao Min had poisoned Shi Xuejie in the past, and how he'd planted many spies into the palace. When the sixth prince moved in, such actions were really unlike the Honorable General Gao in the previous life, and more resembling an insidious imperial concubine. It seems that I was too careless. I should have cleaned up those spies a long time ago. While pondering, the side palace came into view. The maid walked a few steps faster to show the way, urgently pushing open the door at the end of the corridor. A strong, bloody smell flowed out. Zhu Sheng walked up to the open door and looked in. He saw Li Shudong clutching a long, barbed whip and 3 tied-up slaves kneeling before him. They had already been beaten black and blue by him, on the verge of death. "Concubine, help! The sixth prince is crazy!" One of the servants managed to look up, crying out for help, while spitting up bloody foam. He looked extremely miserable. The sixth prince's face was ashen. The hand clutching the whip couldn't stop trembling. He'd had enough of these servants. They not only stole his meals and his monthly silver, they also beat, scolded, and humiliated him at every turn, treating him like a dog. as if they felt supreme pleasure from bullying their own master, despite being a slave. He'd been forcefully pushed to the ground to lick their shoes, had been drenched in cold water during winter and forced to stand in a cold wind, and had been forced to crawl under their crutch, one by one, while they ridiculed him with abandon. He'd wanted to resist, but he also knew that he couldn't resist. As a prince of humble origins, and no concubine mother to protect him, his position was even lower than a favorite imperial concubine's personal attendant. He couldn't even show his resentment on his face, else only endless hunger, cold, and more severe torture awaited him. He thought that one day, when he could not endure it any more, he would kill himself and take these people with him. But while he was suffering in despair, concubine She appeared, like a ray of sunshine, warming his dead heart, like a breath of fresh air, stopping him from suffocating. He said he would protect him, said that he no longer needed to humble himself, placing the hope of becoming strong within his reach. When concubine She said these words, his blood began to boil, to burn. The immense joy had almost overwhelmed him. He felt that he finally had a family, so he no longer needed to be afraid of anyone. But when he saw those attendants had shamelessly followed him to the Zishan palace, he finally couldn't restrain his long-suppressed hostility. He decided to send them to their death. He knew he was inherently bloodthirsty. In the dead of night, he would always imagine the many ways he tortured those who bullied him. Some of the torture methods were even unheard of and unseen. They were bloody and cruel, enough to make someone sick, but they made him tremble with excitement. He knew how frightening his thoughts were, so he put on a cowardly appearance to hide his true nature. He couldn't let concubine She see such an ugly version of him. But after all, he was still a child. His techniques were still tender, so he didn't expect that his secret would be spied by a maid, who would then call over the person he most didn't dare to see. He was like a prisoner standing under the gallows, waiting for concubine She to put the noose around his neck. Zhuan Shang slowly walked in, took the whip from his hand, and suddenly whipped his arm. The sharp barb sliced open his clothes, leaving behind a blood-stained bruise. The maid, standing in the doorway, quickly lowered her head, but her face had a strange smile. The sixth prince thought that concubine She would reprimand him and express disappointment. He didn't expect him to flog him without any explanation. And is this the so-called protection, love, and mutual dependence? Am I just a tool to help you recover your status? The sixth prince clenched his teeth, not letting the tears of humiliation and despair fall. No one could ever make him cry or even hurt his hardened heart. Only the person who once gave him hope, then pushed him into the abyss, could easily shake his heart, making him feel true misery. His previous expectation for concubine She now became resentment, but strangely, he couldn't imagine himself hurting him. Do you know what you did wrong? Zhuan Sheng pinched his jaw, forcing him to look up, and snapped. The sixth prince repeatedly clenched and loosened his fist. After a moment of silence, he replied in a hoarse voice, I know what I did wrong. Why didn't you tell me what you did wrong? Why don't you tell me what you did wrong? I shouldn't be so cruel. Fool! Zhuan Sheng pinched his jaw hard enough to leave a few striking finger impressions. The sixth prince finally exposed a pained look. Zhuan Sheng continued, You made two mistakes. One, you humbled yourself too much. You are a prince, they are slaves. You are porcelain, they are rubble. The difference between you is so vast, it's impossible to compare. If you want to get rid of them, you just need to invent a few charges and order it. Then someone else will naturally make them long for death. There is no need to dirty your hands and gain a sadistic reputation. 2. You acted rashly before you completely cultivated your subordinates, allowing those with wicked ambition to exploit your weakness and try to drive a wedge between us. Don't you think that what you did was very, very stupid? After saying this, he coldly glanced at the maid standing by the door. The sixth prince watched him with wide eyes, trying to digest his words. Zhuan let go of his jaw, wiped his hands with a handkerchief in disgust, and slowly commanded, "Come, these 4 people disrespected the sixth prince. Drag them out and cane them to death." Li Jintian felt deep guilt for Qi Xuejie. Although he no longer loved him, he did his best to compensate him. The inside and outside of Xishan Palace had numerous imperial guards, all under his control. As soon as his voice faded, the sword-wielding guards barged into the room, and the 3 attendants and crying maid were dragged away. Concubine father. When the sixth prince came back to reality, his frozen heart started jumping again, faster and faster. Great joy filled his body, causing him to feel light as a feather, as if he was going to float up into the sky. He grabbed Zhou Sheng's hand, as if this could keep his legs firmly glued to the ground, as if the person in front of him would be his sole anchor for the rest of his life. How could Concubine Father hate him, or even abandon him? Concubine Father was his family. He would always love him. Concubine Father was right. He really was behaving stupidly. Li Shudong was speechless with joy. He could only pull Zhou Yunsheng's hand and shout out, "Concubine Father." "Why are you acting cute? What happened to all that bloodlust?" Zhou Yunsheng pulled back his hand in disgust and asked, "Do you dare go watch the death sentence?" "Of course I dare," the sixth prince hurriedly replied. If he had a tail, it would probably be wagging cheerfully. At this moment, he was like a cute puppy, happily circling around his owner. The violence and ruthlessness from before had disappeared. To be honest, Zhou Yunsheng was very satisfied with the sixth prince's temperament. To be able to claim the throne in ancient times, don't you need to be vicious and merciless? Li Ximin, Wu Zetian, Zhu Di, Yang Zheng, no one was a philanthropist. Where there's blood, there's ambition. This was a good thing. Go on then. After watching the execution, remember to come back to accompany me for dinner. Even he could feel lonely when living in such a huge palace, especially during meals. The sixth prince felt like he'd received the highest reward. He loudly agreed and turned to leave. He liked his concubine father and wanted to stay by his side all the time. But how could he ask his concubine father to accompany him to watch such a bloody thing like an execution? His concubine father should live in a bright and magnificent palace and receive the most proper care, the utmost consideration. Gao Min walked into the Yangxin palace with a somber expression. He did not salute, just directly questioning. The sixth prince executed 4 servants unprovoked. Did you know that? Was it really unprovoked? Do you know what kind of life the sixth prince lived before? Li Jintian retorted. If he hadn't deliberately investigated, he wouldn't have known that his own child was being treated so harshly. The 12th prince had already died. If he continued to be negligent, more princes would be killed off until only the 5th prince was left. Was Gao Min doing this intentionally or unintentionally? Gao Min's eyes flashed. He declined to answer, but he obviously knew all about it. Li Jintian was very disappointed. Before the rebirth, Gao Min was imposing, benevolent, and upright, but after the rebirth, Gao Min was cold, selfish, and vicious. Except for the 5th prince and the Gao family, he didn't care about anyone else. Who caused him to change like this? In the final analysis, it seems that he himself was the culprit. Gauman was unable to claim innocence, so he changed the topic. Regarding the matter of appointing me as the commander of Xiji, have you thought about it? Can't you stay here with me? Gauman's answer was silence. His eyes overflowed with unwillingness, resentment, and even a glimmer of ambition. He was eager to leave the suffocating palace, to go back into the bloody battlefield, to have great achievements. He'd humbled himself enough in the last life. He started this life with the deep conviction that only power and wealth could protect his interests. Ambition? Li Jintian couldn't convince himself that he had imagined it. He smiled wearily and waved his hand. Go ahead, do what you want to do. For now, I'll let you go so you can fly around, but one day I'll break your wings. Gauman was overjoyed. He sincerely thanked him and hurriedly left.